Kearns, real estate investor. Bring it to you hot and fresh from the studio. I've got a very special guest with me, a dear friend, a great person, Giovanna Piccoli-Peters. Her name comes from Las Vegas, is very famous, the Piccoli family. We're in, what is that, we're in the presence of greatness.
We are.
So I've known Giovanna for, 10 years at least now.
Probably, yeah, a little bit more. Probably since 07.
Yeah.
Before the REO days.
Yeah, since 07, you were working at Sherry Sanderson's at Condomania.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in real estate.
So I got started in real estate prior to our famous real estate crash, and things were great. You put a house on.
What year was that?
04,
Okay.
05 was approximately when I started, and everything was great. If you put a house on the market, it sold. You didn't need to really do much. Making money was very easy. Selling real estate was very easy.
Right.
We saw a turn in the market, and nobody really knew what to do. So I was lucky enough to have some relationships in the industry. I joined a team who was selling high-rise condos, and I had amazing mentorship with Sherry Sanderson, which you know really well. And
Never met her in person.
And isn't that funny?
Yeah, never.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that.
Never.
So she is fantastic, amazing, and she actually is who introduced me to you. And just to get off topic, knowing Troy in those days was a big deal because he had an REO account.
Right.
And we were dealing with buyers. And so they were coming to our website. We were number 3 on Google. They were coming to our website, and they were cash investors, typically from out of state and or out of the country.
Right.
And they were wanting to buy.
Right.
And you can attest to this. Every property was getting, how many offers were you seeing?
Well, at that point in time, pretty much 90% of the market was foreclosures.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there was multiple offers on everything. Everything was cheap, and specifically condos because there was no financing available.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to be a cash buyer. So the condos, what the Manhattan was selling for like 40 grand.
Yeah. Everything, the Meridian, 30 grand, 25 grand, 50 grand. It was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. And it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
I know, time is going by so quick. So we were introduced at that point and have maintained a relationship that has just really grown since then.
Our families spend time together.
Mm-hmm.
We vacation together. We invest together. We've done a bunch of stuff together. So the reason I brought Giovanna into the studio today is she is probably my second student. I guess my wife being my first, you being my second, in terms of somebody that I have coached, mentored. You, prior to coming to work with me, how many properties did you own?
1.
How many you got now?
14.
14. And when did you start investing? When did that number turn from 1 to 14? Like, how many years ago was that?
Since 2016.
So
when we started officially working together, where you essentially took me under your wing.
Sweet. So that's what we want to talk about. Giovanna, I'm going to let you kind of take over from here, and she's going to talk a little bit about what her experience is working with me and how that helped her out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you that what makes a great teacher is a great student, and she's been an excellent student. It's so frustrating to teach people stuff, and then they don't follow any direction or do anything, and you've done everything I've ever said.
And thank you, Troy. Our family just loves and adores your family, and we are forever grateful for your mentorship. So I feel lucky enough to get to spend time with Troy on a one-on-one basis for about an hour in a mentoring session once a week, and that has changed my family's mindset as a whole, and just changing more from the realtor mindset to the investor mindset. And that's been really, really, really helpful. So thank you for that. So I bring typically a list of questions to Troy every week.
Right.
As I go through my week, a situation will come up, or I will be brainstorming in my car with my husband, and I'm like, gotta bring it to Troy, write it down. Gotta bring it to Troy, write it down. So I
I love
thought,
that. Thank you.
yes. So we thought maybe bringing some of these questions to our viewers today, just our typical questions that I ask, and some of them are are off the wall, and you don't scoff at any of them, so which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I just compiled a couple of questions that I thought maybe your viewers might want to know where you come from and who you are.
Great. Let's go. Fire when ready.
All right. So what inspired you to get into real estate? Was there a person? Was there an event? What inspired you to look at real estate first as a career and then as a means to become a millionaire?
All right. So I always wanted to get rich. Like that was like,
that's a good motivator.
That was the number one goal, like from probably the time I was like 7 or 8 years old. And so I started mowing lawns, and then I got a paper route, and then I started waiting tables. And, you know, you kind of go in your career, you go to college, get a degree, go back to work at Red Robin, the radio station, you're not making any money. And I always had a fascination with the stock market, right? And so that's really where I thought I was going to go. I really studied the stock market at a young age, but I just didn't have the bandwidth for all those numbers and complicated deals. And so, you know, what happened was I actually was selling, you know, everything kind of has melded into another thing. So I had got a job out of college at a radio station in Seattle. And when I got that job, I basically had an opportunity there to learn how to sell advertising. First, I started as the promotions director for the radio station, and then they allowed me to sell advertising. And I won the sales club that year, and or 3 years in, I won the sales club. And they, at that same point in time, they took away the station I was selling. Like I was like the number one guy, and they took away the station I'm selling. And they're like, we're going to give you this package and you can stay on, and we're going to all female, even though you were selling all male now. And that was what propelled me to go into real estate, because I was like, I'm not sticking with these guys.
You were frustrated.
I was like, I don't have any control. I'm making these guys tons of money. At that point in time, my commission I thought was great. It was 19%, right? But I brought everything in. So essentially I brought 100% in, and I got to keep 19% of it. I had to do all my own billing, collect all the bills on everything. And so, yeah, I was totally frustrated. In fact, I'm glad you brought that up. I was so frustrated that when I won the sales club, guess where it was? I was in Seattle at that point in time. Sales club was in Las Vegas. So our main event was at Lake Las Vegas. And I told the human resource person at that point in time, I said, make my trip for a full 10 days. I'm going to stay there and visit my cousin who lived down here. And the reason I did that is I decided that I had already got my Washington real estate license, and I was inspired from my mentor, actually, who's coming into town right now this week. His name's Aaron Renfrew, and I had seen him at a very young age. He was 10 years older than me at that point in time, but he was young at that point in time, and he had already had like 7 or 8 rentals, and I watched what he was doing. And so I got my real estate license in Washington and hung it at his office.
Now, was this at the same time that you were selling the radio station packages?
Yes.
Simultaneously. Okay.
Simultaneously. I was already kind of checked out of, like, once they kind of, I don't remember what the time frame is, but once that they had told me that we're not going to give you what, you know, I basically told them, I gave them a sales pitch. I'm like, I'm your number one salesperson. I closed more business than your entire sales staff that you have here combined. Okay. And I'm like, just give me a special favor and I'll stay on. And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay. And so at that point in time, I knew that I was moving to Las Vegas and I'm going to sell real estate. And so I didn't do anything really with it in Washington other than get my license and sell like one house.
Okay.
Yeah. And so.
What year was that you came here and you got your real estate license and started here?
2006.
2006. Okay.
2006. So yeah, came down here, took the class. That's why I wanted the 10 days, and I wanted them to pay for my airfare. So took the class, got the 10 days. Thank you, Intercom. And did all that. And then basically I came down here at the worst time in 2006, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
and started selling real estate and had a really rough couple years, and just ended up pushing through. Got my first REO account, which we mentioned before, but that's, for those who don't know, that's a bank taking over a house, a foreclosure. So we were working directly, as you know, I was a big name. I had finally got some momentum, and I got into where I saw the money was, which was REOs. And and I actually got that when I was working at the radio station. Or excuse me, no, I'm mixing that up in my brain. But I finally got the REOs, and let me go back a step. I'm failing at real estate in Las Vegas. So I moved.
Sure.
I moved.
As was a lot of people.
Right.
Right.
Right. So but I'm totally failing, and I think we both know this. I'm drinking heavily, and I'm not like making any money.
So you're in Vegas, you have the market crashing, you're partying, it's Vegas, and we all know there's lots of parties to go to, things to do, alcohol to be drank,
Yeah, my first, I didn't even know, like, when you don't know that the bars don't close at 2, you might stay up for 2 days, which
Yeah.
I think I did, like my first weekend.
All of a sudden you look at your time and
Yeah, it's a different date.
yeah. That's great.
So I did that, basically started failing at real estate, went to go get a job here locally doing what I do at like Cox,
Okay.
selling television. They wouldn't hire me. So I reached out to a buddy of mine back home. He hired me and agreed to bring me back. At that same point in time, I got my first REO account through Countrywide. So I called my real estate mentor, Aaron. I said, what do I do? I got to move back. I don't have any money. I'm broke. I don't got anything going on. And he's like, whatever you do, figure out a way to keep that thing alive.
The REO account.
The REO account.
Okay.
So I worked a deal with Ido Gavish. We kept it alive with him. He got 75%. I got 25%. I moved back up to Seattle. Went and sold radio advertising for 10 months. Okay. Came back here during that process of me selling radio. I got added more accounts. Like on the weekends, I would fly down to Dallas and go pick up more accounts. And so that's really what got me into real estate, was selling all those properties. That's what trained me about how to negotiate. That's what learned me about all things.
This is good.
Yeah, all things real estate. So then the problem solving is what got me into buying real estate. So
and that was actually my next question, is when did you start? So at that point you're selling, you're selling real estate, you're getting a commission based on a purchase price. At this point you have a rather large staff, and now you are a real estate investor. So yeah, that was my next question. Where did you transition into being a real estate investor over a real estate salesperson?
So, well, I'm not really sure how to answer the question.
Okay.
Because I think I made that transition actually this year, like where I'm like, I'm not a real estate salesperson anymore. I'm full-time investor. Like, but where I started investing, if that's the question, is when I had to solve a problem. So one of the things that I didn't mention, also I'm having, I said I had problems drinking too much. One of the other things is I made bad decisions. I had invested in real estate in Las Vegas that was at the height of the market. So in 2006, prior to me moving house here, I had bought 2 houses. I bought one in Park One, which I know you're familiar with because condomania.
Yeah.
And as you remember, I paid $184,000 for mine, and you guys were slinging them for like 45 grand.
Yeah.
I think they had the highest sales price was like 280.
Yeah.
So they went up to 280 and they went down to 45 grand. So what really happened was I had 2 properties I bought in the height of the market that I was losing money on every month. And I didn't understand what it was to be a real estate investor. I thought real estate investing meant like buy on this property and hope it goes up in value and then you make money when you sell it.
And let's stop right there, because I remember that term from a conversation that we had in one of our meetings, and you said, don't buy property banking on equity.
Right. Never.
And which is one thing that we did.
Right.
Which is one thing we did. And luckily on that one, it worked out for us. But that, I never will forget that. And so I'm actually glad to hear your experience with that, in this particular condo, for example?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, it was a problem I had to solve. I'm literally losing $2,500 a month from the property over there. That what it was kept. So basically, I was losing, the amount of rents versus what I had to get in
And mortgage and
was-
taxes and homeowners insurance and deferred maintenance and all of these things that come with real estate investing.
Yeah. So
right?
when I woke up in the morning, I was $2,500 in debt every month before I got out of bed. So I was doing the opposite of real estate investing. I was doing real estate. What do they call it? Subsidizing, right? And so now I'm selling all these properties for very cheap, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, wait. And I had constantly had this battle in my head, like, do I short sell? Because everybody was short selling. Everybody was letting their houses go, even smart investors.
Yep.
And I said, I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. If I let them go, then I screw my credit up. If I short sale, because now I'm making money, I have to lie and I have to create and everybody was doing it. So it was very tempting to follow everybody else's lead. But I said, you know what? I'm going to solve the problem. I'm like, so now I'm making some money. And I'm like, if I buy this house, 1721 West Cartier, for $19,000 and I rents out for $800, then I only have to buy 3 houses like that, and I'm only $100 down, right? Because 3 times 8 is 2,400, or sorry, I'm doing the math. No, 3 times 8 is 2,400, right? And so then I would only be down $100. So once I got to even Steven, I just kept going.
So let's back up because you actually touched on my next question, and it is about as we grow as people, as investors, or whatever our career of choices here. Obviously, our viewers are real estate motivated. We talk about our firsts, and you just mentioned your first.
Oh, and real quick to take a pause, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. She is going to be putting it on her channel.
Yep.
Make sure you subscribe to her channel. We'll put a link on the video down here, and comment below if you have any questions.
Yeah, we'd love to come back. Actually, if you guys do have questions, we'll do a follow-up interview.
For sure.
Go ahead and comment below, and we'll do a follow-up interview, and we'll get all of your questions answered, just like me every week. So
Sweet.
So we talked about our first. So you said this property on Cartier was your first that you remember to get you to that next level, to get you a little bit more out of debt.
I would say it was my first where I actually knew or had an idea what I was doing, because everything before then, I had no idea what I was doing. Like I bought a condo, I made $12,000 after losing rent on it for the last 3 years. And then I did one real estate investment in Washington where I feel like market timing played into my good fortune. But other than that, I was driving around and I was listening to Robert Kiyosaki, and where he says, why would you ever buy a property where you lose money every month? How many of those can you buy? And then he says, obviously buying the properties that you make money from every month, you could buy as many as you want of those, or as many as you can afford. So that was really the switch for me turning into an investor, was like, okay, whenever I go buy a car, I don't buy a car first, I buy the house to pay for the car. So it's that mindset switch, which I know you understand now, was like, whatever I want, real estate can pay for it. So.
Right. So let's fast forward 7 or so years. How many properties do you own today?
I like to stick with the unit count because it's kind of, there's,
Okay, with doors. Let's talk about doors. How many doors?
I would say just a little bit over 300.
Okay.
And closing in fast on adding more to that.
That's actually, most people don't acquire that many properties in a lifetime. And what you've done is you've acquired that many properties in 7 years.
Yeah. It might have been a little bit longer, but maybe like.
We'll call it 10 years.
Okay,
we'll call
10
it 10 years, for
years,
the sake
yeah.
of argument, right?
Yeah, 10 years.
How would somebody get to even half of that in that time frame? What is somebody's first step to getting to there? If they want to see this passive income coming in every month, so they're not in what Robert Kiyosaki calls the rat race, So they're not in that rat race every day. How do they get there?
Well, I mean, you got to have a burning desire. That's going to be what it starts with.
What does your wife call it? We talked about what?
Obsession?
Obsession.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be obsessed if you're going to get to that type of a level.
But what do you call it?
I call it fun.
But you also call it laser focused.
Yeah.
You call it laser focused.
Yeah, I think you got
Other people may call it obsessed.
Right. So yeah, you got to be laser focused if you want to hit those type of numbers. But I don't think that most people want that. I think that a lot of people just want to be comfortable and not be stressed out. And so what I would say to them is, and I think that you're starting to get into this right now, is the best way to start is wholesaling. Because wholesaling teaches, like, it's like the fundamentals. Like, I'm teaching my kids basketball right now. The fundamentals is dribbling, right? In real estate, if you can find deals, you're going to always make money. Because if you know how to find deals, then you're always going to be able to find a buyer, or you're always going to be able to buy the property or whatever you do. But wholesaling teaches you how to find deals. And you can do it with no money. So if people are going to get started, I would suggest wholesaling.
That's a great suggestion. So you're talking about driving for dollars, you're talking about looking for houses, you're talking about getting on the phone, you're talking about doing mailers, finding the deal, contacting making contact with the owner of the property.
Yeah,
finding out if you can help them solve the problem, right?
Yeah, well, 100%. You're gonna learn how to find a deal. You're gonna learn how to negotiate. You're gonna learn how to price out what it's gonna cost to fix it, because generally a wholesaler is going to be the guy who finds the deal and then sells it to someone like us, right? Who they make a little bit of money on the spread. They don't have to put anything up, but they're learning the whole process of real estate, right? What it takes, how to look for title work, and everything like that. So it's a great way to start.
That's fantastic advice. What's your next big goal?
To get this channel to 100,000 viewers.
Get this channel done. Okay.
Yeah, we're at like 115 right now.
So did we remind you guys to subscribe? Go
We
ahead
did.
and subscribe in the link below.
Make sure you do it.
Just another gentle
Thank
reminder.
you.
Absolutely. Another question I have for you, Troy, is in our conversations, when you first started investing, you were paying cash for everything. So you were working in the REO sector and you were paying cash at this point as you were building your investment portfolio.
Keep in mind, they were $19,000 properties.
Understood. Yeah. Okay, that was a good reminder. Now, as you've progressed in your investment and your portfolio has grown substantially, you've started to leverage a little bit more.
Right.
Now, let's rewind. If you were a new viewer here and you're just beginning your investing, would you go the same route that you went? Would you suggest maybe leveraging a little bit more to maybe acquire a little bit more? What are your thoughts on that? Right?
Totally leverage. I am a very hard case, and I was totally opposed to leverage just from everything that's been ingrained to you as a child, like save your money, pay off your house, do whatever. As you know, I had this debt on these 2 properties, that I bought wrong with leverage.
Right.
So I was scared of...
So you had a bad taste in your mouth about financing, leveraging, because you had your first 2 experiences with owning property were bad.
Well, my third and fourth experiences, my first 2 experiences with investment properties.
Okay, yes.
Yes, my first 2 experiences with investment properties was bad because I leveraged. I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't have, the guy who sold the properties to me, who's a friend of mine. He's a great guy, Ido Gavish, but he gave me bad advice. I said, would you buy it? He goes, absolutely. And I'm thinking, because it's going to go up in value. That was, that was his thinking.
Well, and I think that was the market at the time that's what we were all thinking. We were buying on equity because that is what was happening. We were putting, we were buying a house and putting that same house on the market a month later and making
lots of money.
Lots of money.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had actually even been advised from my mentor, don't speculate, don't speculate, don't speculate, don't speculate. And so
let's talk about that. So that's why it's really important who you have as a mentor and who you watch and who you listen to.
For sure. For sure. It's, you have to be comfortable. You're going to find yourself, but you have to find out who you are by going to other people and seeing what they do and what your comfort level is. So kind of going back to like what I leverage now, like the funny thing was what happened to me and what really blew me up in the flipping game was I had tried to go out there and get money from local banks. Like I went to all the banks locally here around town and all of them told me no. So I just was really creative how I flipped. I did like subject twos, I did, a couple of them with other people's money, get family, friends to get into a deal, split the equity up with them.
Okay.
And so finally, after those phone calls, after all those meetings, I had pretty much given up on financing. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get a call from Lending Home. And the guy's name, who I still keep in touch with today, is Kenton Buckley. And he says...
And I've spoken with Kenton.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, man, we see you do a lot of flips, and we could loan you money. And I'm like, well, how does it work?
Did just a light bulb go off? I mean, was that just music to your ears?
Well, I had been looking for it,
right.
yeah.
So to get an inbound phone call,
right,
not you calling, not you searching,
right,
not going to these banks like, please give me some money.
Right.
You're getting the phone call now, an inbound phone call. How did that make you feel?
I felt awesome.
Yeah.
I was super excited. I was like, where the hell were you guys I don't know, a year ago? Because I was pretty much just putting everything together, and I was buying as deep as possible because every deal I did was either my own money or like a friend, like a buddy Jeff Sears, had my mom on a couple deals, but I'd split my profits 50-50 with them. So they loved it. They were making great money, and it was great for me too.
And you were doing all the work.
I did all the work.
You're just like, guys, I need a little bit of money. I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to find the buyer. I'm going to do the flip. I'm going to get the construction crews here to do the rehab.
Yep.
And you're going to get half the money.
Yep. Yeah, I just always find that. Well, I mean, you know how I am. Yeah. I always found out that it's better to just be fair with people, and if they screw you, then hit back, 10 times as hard. But if you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want.
Right. Right. And I'm sure our viewers feel the same way. Getting all of this valuable knowledge at YouTube University is just amazing. So we want to thank you for your time today.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. The reason one of the things that really inspired me, we actually just talked about this in our meeting. One of the reasons that I started a YouTube channel was that I was helping people like you. I was helping my wife. I'm helping this guy. I'm helping this girl. I'm helping everybody all the time for free, right? Which I don't mind doing. But it's something that I like to do, and I'm watching a lot of these other guys on YouTube, which I like YouTube. I'm learning from guys on YouTube. I'm learning commercial real estate on stuff that I don't understand yet from Peter Harris at Commercial Real Estate Advisors. And I'm like, and the biggest problem that I had was like, man, I don't want to put, like a lot of these guys are putting all their stuff out there. They're putting like how much they own, what's in their bank account, their blood type, everything. And I'm like, I don't want to do all that, but I feel like I definitely will be worthwhile to watch. I think that I can educate a lot of people about how to get started, and so that's really why I want to start the channel, and that's why we started the channel. Yeah.
That's great. So you're open to viewers coming in asking questions for strategies, things like that, and we can maybe help them get to their goals as well. And
yeah, I mean, I would tell you that like the biggest thing is like we've already had comments like somebody's like, "What's driving for dollars?" and we shot a video the next day. So we want people to comment below. We want to do videos that people are interested in. I mean, the number one deal that you understand when you start understanding what YouTube is everybody who's teaching you about YouTube, right? Because right now I'm learning about YouTube, right? They're all telling you, you have to give your audience what they want. It's not about like, even the fact that like I say, in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I don't need to tell them to hit subscribe or anything like that. Hit subscribe, by the way. I don't need to tell them that because they're just going to do it if they like it. And they're like, no, that's not how it works. So now I'm having to learn like how YouTube works, how TikTok works, how Instagram works, how Facebook, all these other things that I really had swore off because I thought they were very like intrusive. And now I'm all in. So
So you're willing to open up to your audience a little bit more than you were in the past.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go and show them my bank account.
And you're seeing other people doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some things that just still need to be private, you know.
Sure.
But I understand why guys are doing it. It gives you clout, it gives you relevancy, it gives you credibility, you know, and it gets people excited about how much you have. But I think that guys who don't talk about what they got usually have more. And so I feel like that's probably the better way to play it. I think it's a little, I'm not saying I think it's a little bit tacky. I'm going to be honest. I just don't, I know it's the new generation that's doing it because everybody's doing it, you know. So maybe I need to do it, but at this point in time, I'm not going to do it. So that could change, you know.
But you are willing to open up to other points of your life that you maybe wouldn't have been in the past.
Yeah, like I told you with the alcohol, that was something that I had to come to grips with. I want to be vulnerable and let people know that like they're not the only people that suffer losses, suffer from like ailments, anxiety, whatever the situation is. We're just regular people. And we just happen to have a love for real estate, and we love what it does for our family.
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. I mean, that is the stuff, like the fact that you own 14 properties and when you came to me, you owned one, like it makes me excited because like.
And we were breaking even on that one, by the way.
That's right. That was a condo, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I got one. We're making like, which breaking even means you're losing money because you're just going, yeah, I'm breaking even on paper, but all the time, energy, and whatever, you're losing money. Opportunity cost, how much money you have in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just feel like real estate has afforded my family so many good things. And I feel like the way our society is going too, like if people like, I watched my dad retire at like 70-something years old, and I'm like, man, and people are retiring older and older and older and older. And I'm like, if they get this education when they're young, like I was always getting educated about stuff because I told you I wanted to get rich. So now that if YouTube was around when I was 18 or 16, I would have probably been much further along. So I feel like it's so at the same point, like it's scary that we're giving everybody like privacy. It's exciting at the same time because you can learn like how to set up a weed whacker on the YouTube, how to set up your remote, whatever you want to do, you can learn about it.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it's a different time, and it's really amazing because you're right. I remember we talked about some of the properties in the Midwest, and we had some questions about wood floors. So different than the different from the West Coast. Excuse me. We're talking about old, classic, real wood floors.
Right.
And we said, let's watch a YouTube video. Let's figure it out.
Right.
Let's figure it out. How do we buff these floors out? How do we get them shiny and brand new?
Hey, man.
We found the video.
And just to tell you about that situation, I actually own a sander. I think. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, you identify your biggest cost right out of the gate is going to be sanding these wood floors that have been around for 100 years, and they're charging $2.50 to basically mow the lawn, as I call it, because they're just going back and forth and then taking like a weed whacker to the side, and you make up for that one deal by buying that machine, and so that's why I bought it. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Train your guys on YouTube, and there you go.
That's it. Just send them a video, say you're trained.
YouTube University. Here's your certificate.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. All right, Troy. Well, we thank you for your time today, and
thank you.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Thanks, guys.
So it's a pleasure to be with Giovanna Piccoli-Peters. She's been a good friend. I actually remember one of the first times we hung out was snowboarding on Bryan Head, where she said she was an excellent snowboarder, and we saw her at the top of the mountain the whole time. And since then, we've built a great relationship, and she has been like my second student, and she's bought 14 houses in a very short period of time, and you can do the exact same thing too if you follow me.
Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed the interview today with what I like to consider a real estate mogul and millionaire, Troy Kearns. If you guys want to see more videos on more people here locally or internationally, I will be happy to reach out to them and do an interview with them too. Hit subscribe below and look forward to hearing from you.
Kearns, real estate investor, bringing it to you hot and fresh. If you like that last video, you're going to like the rest of the videos we've got. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button. We'll be bringing you new videos every week.